A very good afternoon, everyone. I J. Manimekla, on behalf of the SFC Center for Philosophy, JNU, and the ICPR Study Circle on Contemporary Indian Philosophy. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the 8th lecture in our ongoing lecture series, which aims to engage critically with contemporary currents and challenges in Indian philosophical thought. Today, we are honored to have with us Professor P. Kumar from the Department of Philosophy, University of Delhi, who will be delivering a talk titled From Servitude to Self-Respect, Revisiting Indian Ethical Traditions. Professor Kumar has more than 20 years of teaching experience, and his area of specialization include contemporary Indian philosophy, ethics, social and political philosophy, philosophy of religion, cultural studies, continental philosophy, philosophy of technology, Dalit studies, and social movements. He has published books on Jiddu Krishnamurti, Ambedkar, and many articles on social and political contemporary issues in both Telugu and English. We are equally honored to have Professor Bhagat Oina, a distinguished philosopher and faculty member of the Center for Philosophy, JNU, as the chair for the session. Without further ado, I now invite Professor Bhagat Oina to formally chair the session and take the proceedings forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Kesava. Thank you very much. Professor Kesava has been very kind to have agreed to deliver this talk. And let me just briefly tell you that this is a small funding we got from Indian Council of Philosophical Research Study Circle, primarily to engage with the students on several issues of contemporary Indian philosophy. So we have had, works, discussions on Swami Vivekananda, Tagore, and others. We have also had studies on K.C. Bhattacharya and others who have been engaging with colonial and post-colonial period. We have also had scholars' works on philosophers who have tried to draw a continuity or link with the classical tradition. But we were also thinking of those philosophers who were critical of the classicist or orthodox mode of philosophizing. And that was also one of the reasons I wanted Professor Kesava Kumar, who is the best scholar I can think of, to engage with philosophy of Fule, Belia, Ambedkar, and few such scholars who have been questioning the traditional moral values and try to talk about emancipation in our own human rights in a different mode. So over to you, and maybe an hour we can have.
Good afternoon to everybody. First of all, I'm thankful to Professor Bhagat for inviting me for this lecture. And very particularly Department of Center for Philosophy. I was first to visit to the department to give the talk like this. And I hope I won't disappoint the department for inviting me for this occasion. Yeah, I regularly used to people students outside the JNU. The students' organizations very often used to invite me. My lectures are generally outside the conference rooms. They're in front of home, and also in front of the same building. There's a bit thing. But it is good that the kind of same debate and also bring it to the level of academics, the departments, and really I'm thankful to the Professor Bhagat that to creating occasional facility for me to speak on particular topics. Say, I will speak on the from servitude to self-respect and revisiting Indian ethical traditions. Most of you are aware of what are Indian ethical traditions, what are Indian ethics. Indian ethics for you, mostly Purusharthas, Nishkama Karma, Sadhana Dharma, Varnashram Dharma. After that, we didn't listen anything. Suddenly, we jump to the contemporary thinkers. We try to search something, some ethical point we want to find out, we want to extract it, even though they try to speak in different contexts. The contemporary Indian philosophers, Gandhi, Tagore, many other thinkers also, Vivekananda. And there is a canon of the Indian philosophers and also the base of the Indian ethics. There is something gap we can find, vacuum which is there. The vacuum in the sense there in the substance of Indian ethics, it is based on the very weak foundation. Anybody can hit it. As there is no substance, it is there. But even though they are justifying or continuing and preserving for a long time. And of course, this is how the vested interests are there, and also the intellectuals and also the social society and itself, the dominance communities, they have their own interests are there to protecting that one. That means there is also the contestation is from very weak. Even if it is there also, it is not part of critics and also not part of our academics. That may be there. Doesn't mean that there is no contestation for this kind of dominant, hegemonical kind of theory, philosophies, and also ethics. There is also there from classical to the contemporary time. But however, for us, most of the time we try to understood that because of our the classroom kind of teaching, or also the engagement with the research. This kind of topic, how many every year we used to see at least to one third of research will goes on the Indian ethics. But interestingly, there's no critical approach out of it. There's nothing wrong to work out that one, how to relate to the contemporary times, how to engage the text into the present day and now. We never try to do this one. We didn't find any material classes. Suppose some material is there, we can go there and say, over this way, I can proceed further, I can make something out of it. And that's why we didn't find any progress in ethical research in the ethics, Indian ethics. That is my acquisition. Then also there's somebody used to ask, is there any moral philosophy? Is there? Of course, it might be there. Not only there, it is mostly we have the doubt and also we are waiting for some time. It is because we are largely identified as I told, this kind of Purusharthas and the Hindu ethics, what we try to talk about, such level we can find. But outside the Hindu fold, we can see the Sramana tradition, the way, the Buddhism, Jainism. We try to talk about these are actually ethical traditions. More than philosophy, they are concern for fellow human being. Maybe that level one can look at. But largely, they also try to share some kind of sense of Purusharthas in a different level, different order. And apart from that one, their purpose, the way their kind of approach seems to be different, not the hierarchical, not the kind of the differentiating the people, not like that. And we have a different kind of approach also there. But however, we largely identify Hindu ethics means, Indian ethics means mostly Hindu ethics. Hindu ethics also mostly Vedantic. Not only Vedantic also lateral development, lot of things might be there. There have been a lot of bhakti traditions where you can see in West Northeastern area, there are a lot of variation which is there with the bhakti traditions and the totally different kind of approach to ethics it is there. The way the culture and the principles and life are also mingled and also they give some sense of dignity and egalitarian approach is also there within the religious level. It looks like part of Hinduism, but some deviations also there. The whole Bhakti movements totally change the discourse, but we never see to that one. Even we try to Bhakti movement also reduce to some kind of the base value such as the way the kind of ownership level that is also going to reduce. That is the one, and that is a dominant tradition. We are as a part of the nationalistic movement and also a part of colonialism. Somewhere or other, the meta narrative of this Vedanta and occupied the central space, and we are also part of continuity is also there without unity. And other traditions seems to be internalized, integrated that there's a assimilation, it is a technique they use to make the other traditions also part of Indian, but at the same time they are also not given much importance. Anyway, I don't want to put details of much detail, most of you are aware of that one. And only try to talk about a small link where we can look at when talking about the foundations of the Hinduism. Foundations of Hinduism, people will say that one initially the Vedic. Vedic means it is rituals, some kind of curiosity, some kind of hymn, some kind of melody, songs, very well. Some yajnas that are forming, the way you can see the kind of literature which you are calling it as a Shruti. Hinduism can be seen as a combination of or it is the two traditions. One is Shruti tradition, other is the Smruti tradition. Shruti tradition, largely it is a Vedic tradition, where it is identified with the Vedas. And this will be continued with the Aranyakas and Samhitas, Aranyakas, and also Upanishads. This level makers. But later part, the way Brahmanas also it is there. The Brahmanas, the way the people identified how to one has to perform the rituals, yajnas to get some kind of the later happiness in the heaven or some kind of the benefits. And then this yajnas it is largely confined to that way the dvijas. And just in the sense, some people try to talk about these people, it is a large scale sponsorship is required, the money is involved, and the people who are proprietors of this kind of yajnas and only rich people will be there. And also, it is only confined to the dvijas. That level, they also protected the tradition. The only that is the time where it is either women, Sudras are not the part of that Hinduism. What we talk about Hinduism, of course, the word it came later. But anyway, if you identify the larger, like I talk about Shruti and the Smruti, I try to differentiate that one. That later, the popular majority of the Indians are it is outsider. But slowly the Smruti tradition it is extended, and then other people also it is the way they is involved, and also the religion, the way it is Puranas, Agamas, and Dharma Shastras, and all these things, this Mahabharata, Itihas. So, epics, these are the part of this literature, the way it is Smruti literature, mostly Puranic we can talk about. There's some difference it is there, but at the same time it is open to most of the people, majority of the people are Hindus. At the same time, it is also sharing sharing the worldview of the Shruti, definitely, but largely somewhere it is the way the people who are they marginalized also thing. In this process, the idea of the yajna also changed. It is some way it is talking about it then to the level of the extent the meaning of yajna also changed the way it is from the Brahmanas to the later stage how it is there. And even serving, when come to Mahabharata, serving seva also become a yajna. And also is comprehend the life activities, all the such level, it is also went there. Anyway, this is when we are trying to look at the whole larger canvas or the moral canvas, we can see the available literature. These are the literature is available. then what kind of theories or what kind of the undercurrent of the different systems might be there, and the people, the society is governed by certain kind of the principles, or the people have certain goals are there. Generally, this kind of goals which I talk about the Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. This is called as this also. Some people try to talk about initially the only three vargas are there. That means moksha is added later. Initially, this three only it is there. Then which one is the? Then there is a problem also. Which one has to be the Mula Purushartha? Uh, you know it very well. Some people they talk about it is Artha. It is important. Only other things will follow. But in generally, to the social life, people try to talk about it is the dharma is very much important to regulate the society, also to the dharma it is there, and social level. Later it is only moksha it is added, it is a personal level it is there. Now this conflict between the social and personalistic level also this kind of clash is there, which has to priority has to be given, or it is there and all. There is also debate it is there about the way the people like the contemporary times, the Rajendra Prasad and Daya Krishna and some other philosophers also they engage this kind of debate. So I don't want to go details of that, but just I'm opening up the debate. And it is not only no, my point is that here, but the issue it is that whether it is you're talking about the good life of the society or the country or the people, does it comprehends this kind of values is enough to capture the what it is required for the society, these values, whatever that is the one challenge it is there. And second is that is what is the content of this one and how it is what operates in a contextually. And very particularly in addition to this kind of Purusharthas, it is also corollary to that one, it is there, Varnas and Dharma. Each one has to follow, but our society also divided and also different Varnas, it is there, Varnas further divided into Jatis, caste, and where we can, what the duties has to be there and all these Purusharthas and also related to this one, Varna theory. And also ashrama theory, also different stages of life, also what one has to do this one, brahmacharya, gurastha, all other things, and sannyasa. This is one level it is there. This way one can look at the relations between these two ideals and means to reach such a good life. At the same time, the way the source, how it is introduced and whose interest it is there, where the location it is there and all. So if you look at closely, the kind of the ethics, what they introduce, some kind of the inequality, it is not a starting point, we're talking about the way some environment it is required, treating, or at least in society may not be, definitely there will be society inequalities, problems may be there and all. Then have to impose such kind of sense of morality and sense of the social theories, and definitely it has to be look for some kind of the sense of equality, freedom, and sense of some kind of the way commonality approach of the commonality, each everybody can be treated, then applying the rule it is there. But there, the mostly this kind of the define that the kind of ethics where we try to talk about. I will come slowly later. But today I would like to focus. My lecture will be focused on against this kind of model that in a contemporary time, it is still long time, these theories might be there, they try to talk about, we are taken from the Vedic times, I mean, long back, more than, even though last, before the cell phone or after cell phone, how the world is changed. No, but we can see long time it is there now, society is changed, complexity is involved, lot of things are there now. But they try to still be generate, nothing wrong to take the certain kind of values they are taking from out. But same time, you should be related to that one. You have to improve it further. To what extent it will be connected, related to our life, that is also very much is important. Doesn't mean that whatever it is in past is bad and we have to abandon. Not like that. And exactly here, there we can see, one level there is a structural, the in principle level, is it a viable theory? Second is that how it is operational level, what kind of problems will be involved, and what kind of the efficacy of this kind of theory, what it is there. How the meanings also change. The same idea of dharma, it is only just as a rule, as a principle, somebody has to perform some kind of ignas. Later talking about the righteous social life and different meaning it is also, it is, we can try to derive, want to give the impose on that one. Nothing wrong with that one, but one has to see the origin and development, progress, interpretation, how we are related to these things also very much is important for us. But over the period of time, there is we didn't. My point is that we didn't have the much development in progress of the moral theory in a sense that when talking about mostly moral theories, identified this kind of the way Purusharthas and Varnashram dharmas and also Nishkam karma, then this kind of approach it is there, and that is one issue. And next, the point is what I would like to talk about. I want to problematize the very particularly this kind of idea of ethics. What kind of ethics are this one? Whose interest it is there? Who are the victims of this kind of ethics? And if you look at that one, undercurrent of this one, there is also, as I told, it is most of the ethics is centered for the advantage of the particular privileged sections it is there. In simple terms, it is the crude terms, maybe grammatical class. The way social design it is there, the privileges at the cost of indignities for the larger sections. And the kind of the way the kind of duty, social obligations also how it is distributed, and not only distributed and also the problems and the way others people and what kind of issues involved are the way in a social the whole the moral theory. And not only that one, the kind of not only systematically imposed on us because of it is also sacred, so social design also sacred, it is given, this is authority, and nobody can question that one, infallible, and also this kind of approach is also there. Some kind of textual, which is mostly ascribed, they're imposed on us at the same time, that authority they maintain by saying it is a divine, we can't question, because of uncertainty and fear, generally we believe. And but even not only that one, the rule is also not the same for everybody. It should be some punishment. It is suppose you are transgressing rule and we are violating the rule. The punishment should be equally should be there. But if you look at the whole the Manu Dharma Shastra, we can see the treatment given for the different communities, even for the same crime also. Not only the duties, obligations, it is there. The inequality as an underlying principle, it is there. Not only inequality, some privileges also there. Not only privileges, some are totally exploited. And also they treat it till the level of the untouchables, unseeable, unapproachable. And that way, not only that one kind of not even treating as a fellow human being, as a human being. You never treat, never be considered as a human being. At the same time, you're totally depending on his extractive labor of that fellow. You are talking about in the name of intellectual labor, you won't do it, and also the manual labor that fellow is doing and all, you are exploiting. This whole system, the social relations, social structure, we can be seen in a larger term. We can see it is a caste system, one can say that. The caste system, I know the kind of how the caste system is operates and some kind of inequality, some sense of unfreedom, and some sense of what oppression, and where not there's no possibility to flourish the human personality. This kind of situation. In simple terms, one can say that by birth deciding, and also it's one kind of slavery, the slave kind of mindset where it is there. The one kind of slavery people try to identify as a part of slavery. Against this one, today we are talking about the self-respect, human dignity. Human dignity is a mostly enlightenment idea which came with the Kant, and that related that most of the struggles also identified with either black struggles or feminist struggles, and also that mostly they engaged with this idea of the human dignity. Then it is a self-respect, and we can see recognition. The ideas further extended. Today the debate is people try to talk about the idea of the justice mostly identified with the resources, distribution of the resources. But today the debate is it is expanded not only resources, it is the recognition, respect is also important. When Dalit movement, when people try to talk about the feminist movement, it is not the only the distribution of resources. Self-respect is equally important. Self-respect equally is important. Such a level as some other people now we try to talk about this. This contest created the ground for us, the struggles of the oppressed against the dominance, structural inequalities, cultural inequality, change the ethical discourses, the very particularly the critical race theory, feminist theory, anti-caste theories, introduce a new moral language in place of earlier theories of freedom and justice. This is a context where I would like to speak. And in this context, where I believe that one India has a rich philosophical sources are there, different ethical traditions, what we try to talk about. No need to take exactly from the import from the West. And also here also the democratic cultural traditions also there, philosophy is also there. And I don't want to extend the debate and go to elaborate debate. I don't want to say that one. And there are some attempts to organize such teams under one roof Indian, but the attempts are either failure or so. But there is one more attempt. The Indian traditions is very vast and full of many streams of thought, traditions, and culture. But there's some attempts the Vedic tradition demanding some kind of the Vedic tradition or the Vedic tradition, everything is reduced to such level that is there. This tendency has ignored the various genuine attempts and traditions which are either independent of them or different from them due to the philosophical reasons, and hence to make any general statement regarding the moral thought in the name of Indian approach or view is ignoring the great variety of rich views. This is S.C. Bilke in Deconstruct the Myth of Morality in Classical Thought. He make a point. This one, it is also even time and again how to be remind this kind of things where we are totally negating this kind of approach. We are the pluralistic and also the traditions are there. It is also very much important. That's what I thought about. Then let me talk about there is the debate. We're talking about the Indian moral philosophy. Is there any moral philosophy in India? Some of the people, from the Western point of view, they try to make a point. With one philosopher, one such as is a Catholic priest. He, in 1924, he has written Hindu ethics. He said that the ethics of India, he tried to talk about Hindus had a dharma instead of ethics. And having dharma, they did not need ethics. This, of course, is not to say that Hindus were unethical or much immoral. And the Mackenzie question can be seen like this. The ethics of India are defective, illogical, and anti-social, lacking any philosophical foundation, nullified by abhorrent ideas of asceticism and ritualism, and altogether inferior to the higher spirituality of Europe. These 2 points is there. One is like India don't have the ethics, we don't have. We have the dharma and morality, other that level is there. Other level, he make a point that one it is altogether inferior to the way the higher spirituality of the. There the debate it is the ethics is some by people extend that one ethics the discourse of the Western. The way we also try to talk about our philosophy is different, something it is not the way we try to talk about. It is not exact translation, it doesn't fit in the word we try to talk about, or some darsana, and similarly, the ethics also, it is a dharma. His approach is just live with the truth and all, not by knowing and following certain things and all, some higher level kind of like. Yes, then people try to talk about this one. As long as the fundamental line to traditional social definition was not radically challenged, altered, Hindu thought about Dharma and society structured around the meanings of Dharma had no need of patterns of ethics the West takes for granted for history. And somebody tried to talk about Dharma is imposed by the authorities, way. Some other people like the Karl Popper has written the presuppositions of Indian philosophy, the ultimate value recognized by the classical Hinduism's most sophisticated source is not morality or freedom. That's what there I told. Moksha is important. It is not the morality. This is one way people try to twist it in different fashion and all. Dharma, they, however, the people who are the modern times, the people try to revalue the resource of dharma and ethics. The way one is Austin Creed, revision of dharma in the past philosophers. He argued that neglect the social issues, the sort of requiring attention today. That's what we talk about. Time and again, we try to talk about the dharma. There's some issues hinting us and all where it is missing, the relation to the society, and also some way connected to the social life, the morality or dharma or the what are social or some way that if I talk about dharma was rooted in custom, not ethical perspectives derived from or justified by metaphysical perspective, and today custom is under challenge. How does one select among contending customs, old and new? If dharma is to remain relevant, something like a ethics in the Western sense seems to be called for, so that dharma may be defined and defended. Ethics in the sense seems to be variance with the traditional meta-ethical point of view that has dominated, if not characterized, Hindu thought. There's a time and again this issue it is there and all. One way they try to talk about Indian ethics, ethics means only Western, it should be like that they try to talk about. The other level, the way making complaint against us, that one, since you are not to be interrogated, your past, traditions, culture, or social life, and no sense of morality, it is a way we try to talk about by using reason, rationality, or dignity, some other, the way to fulfill the egalitarian society, certain kind of values, or the approaches of the meta-ethics of the way Western society is something they try to talk about. Very often they try to talk about. However, to respond to that one, the Indian philosophers, the way Radhakrishna, I talk Radhakrishna, T.M.P. Mahadevan, and Hiren, these are the popular figures. Radhakrishna said that every system of Indian philosophical thought gives us a practical way of reaching the supreme ideal. Though we begin with thought in our aim, is to go beyond thought, is to pursue experience. Then T.M.P. Mahadevan also tried to talk about it is ultimate reality is eternal and changeless, but there can be no ultimate socio-religious institutions and customs. The latter will have the change when the conditions of life and climate. That's what they talk about. They're aiming for some eternal life, the Sanatana Dharma, changeless and eternal life. That will be permanent, will be there. Now try to talking about other ethics, they will apply to societies, goes on changing. But that level, they try to keep it as a justifying the kind of our ethics is towards higher level, not to this level, the way they talk about. And further, Hiranya, let me say that when Hiranya, what he said, Radhakrishna said, next to the category of reality, that of dharma is the most important concept in Indian thought. That's what same thing may be reproduced by the Hiranya. No particular thing or event has inherent worth, and all moral percept are instrumental to an ultimate rejection of the natural world. Hindu dharma is not an object of the life of individual and of society in order to make men naturally happy or virtuous, harmoniously perfect, but to lead them beyond all these and experience, which is supra-moral and it is supra-mental. That way, the way they're defending justice by saying that at some higher level, we have to realize that one, to identify that one. But at the same time, they try to negate that one. Actually, you know it very well, source of ethics are generated from the society where you are living, from some social life, it has to go there and all. From the above, it is they try to justify some by saying that by presenting as something perfect or intelligible world or eternal truth, it is there, changeless truth, it is there and all. And however, there is this is the way we are trying to look at the problems of I don't know how one can convince about this kind of ethical theories. We can see that one by glance of that one, we can see definitely that problem it is there and all. It is not how far it is applicable to us and that to contemporary time. And that is also why there is no development of ethical theories, that is also a challenge which is there. One woman which is there, that is when people are trying to discuss about the Indian philosophy, past, present, and future under the leadership of the Papu Ramarao, there one scholar, her name is Pratima Bali. not much people are recognized in India, but her writings are there, even about the Hinduism, right? The feminist among the philosophers, some different kind of writings are there. And when she made a point in the book, one of the articles in that one, the non-development of the moral philosophy in India, it is due to the monopoly of the Brahminical class. In a sense, no need to take it as offensive. The Brahminic class, in the sense, they are intellectual class at that time, and that too they have to take the responsibility to understand society and also have to give lead to the society. But they know aware of the society and also forget about long back, some for 3000 years back, Vedic something is happened or that's different. Then today we are seeing Indian scholars, they try to engage that one, they say they know the reality, they're exposed to the different kind of theories of the world and civilizations, and also the kind of the they know what do you mean by egalitarianism, what do you mean by, they don't want to look at that one, the kind of reality. And that was, they may be vested interest it is there and all. They may believe that maybe they may be maintain silence. They keep away from that one. Doesn't mean that they have opinion might be there. Why to talk about that one or maybe silence. Same thing even Ambedkar also make a point and all about the Brahmin class. They have to take the lead and also society. Not a problem. They have to be make them to be civilized in the society, the educated people. It is there. They have responsibility. How they overcome that. Then he also make a point that for non-development of the moral political philosophy, how it is extended, even though they talk different kind of schools are there. He try to talk about directly and all the systems and all, and why they can't, why there is no social philosophy is not developed and all. Oh, the other way, the social life, the what Manus in Sankara also try to talk about such a great philosopher Sankara, very logically developed. You will be convinced with the kind of logic where he try to propose for us. And there also try to, when come to ethics, he try to talk about the Manu become a medicine, he try to talk about. Even the ethics also, which ethics is there, when Ambedkar also in caste in India, any list of the caste also make the point, the what kind of ethics, we forget about philosophy and all. Somebody told in the philosophy, the rootless, he tried, intellectually rootless, he tried to talk about. Then come to the ethics only, the starting point, when try to talk about ethics, people try to talk about Shruti. When Shruti and Smruti it is there, which one has to take in the priority? Then it is definitely Shruti, since it's the people are following. When Smruti is Sadachara, it is there, which one is there? Definitely Sadachara. Similarly, when talking about the philosophy, it is there, but ultimately they fall back to the what is the social obligation, and the philosophy is also mostly our philosophies want to justify it. We didn't develop the language to justify our social kind of the obligations, reality, without questioning that one. You are talking about the sense of the robust equality, talking about spiritual equality, you are talking about, but at the same time, the social level is going on in front of you, can't make a sense of it. That's why the one can like it more medieval philosophers by taking the same language of the Sankara, they try to use it for their own the sense of equality. Within the religious realm, they plead it. You're talking about equality, then we are keeping away from us. We are maintaining intentions. The principle is applied by these people only, Sankara, but effectively they use, but they didn't follow. That same thing we can apply that one where the philosophy is not there. In this context, I believe there is a need to have to develop the theory, moral theories, how it is important, it is there and all. The way very often the people try to talk about the human beings essentially embodied and essentially use a social life. Any moral ideal has to be developed from the social life. In Hindu tradition, the morality has not only derived from the transcendence, something like transcendental absolute being or otherworldly. It is based on ritual, scripture, or one other one. Here, Bhikkhu Pare is one more Indian political scientist. He makes a point where he try to. Bhikkhu Parekh observed the Hindu tradition is basically inegalitarian, although it developed an idea of the moral equality of all men, and indeed of all sentient beings, it never developed the idea of the social, legal, and political equality. It made caste the basis not only of social but also polity, and integrated into its very structure in the name of maintaining dharma. The Hindu political thinker subordinates the polity to the demands of the hierarchical social structure. This may be applies to the most of the kind of theory where we try to talk about with the non-development of theory, the kind of theory which is justifying the status quo, and that way we can look at. Anyway, the tension one can be understood that social life is one level, and other level the imposed kind of law or authority or textual authority or some kind of code of conduct. These are the rules and social obligations. That is, one can see the kind of tension. This tension, it is also the not only some of the intellectuals they address, the very particularly the people like the Pule, Periyar, Ambedkar, as a victims of this kind of the social coup, they try to respond to overcome that one. In that process, they develop the theory which can be one can early that one. This is a social theory, political theory. You can identify. It's not necessarily you are taking Western categories and all. You may talk about this is Indian philosophy and different and Western category. But we can't say the Western suffering, Indian suffering. So when we're talking about the suffering you can't bearable and all. Whatever the name you try to talk about and all, you want to overcome that one. There it is, there's a people try to address that one. Their philosophy is not only rooted in the life and society, and also theoretically they come with a different kind of as a part of struggles, they introduce a new kind of theory. And here I would like to, before going to the talking about the surveillance, and surveillance is another form of untouchability, it is the authenticity of being, and let me come to the here. I believe in making the theory, in developing the theory, Gopal Guru has introduced the one kind of approach for us. Even the I don't know how far is the social sciences, the same institute where it is there, same building. He developed the theory, and that is the kind of intervention. It is in a context where we're talking about when talking about ethics, our philosophy, when I'm mostly textual. When I'm asking people are doing working on Indian philosophy, most of their analysis seems to be textual. They never try to look at the text can't be never be located in the society, context where they are there. And not only text and context and also in a circulation, lot of meanings will be generated. Even that level also we never try to look at that one. Even the text, whatever it is there, it is based on some principle of inequality. Principle based on some kind of sense of exploitation, it is there. But even the text, it is we never. However, as I told you, it is social. It is not a part of life. As in this context, Gopal will make a point that one is the two works are there and all. Of course, he's collaborated with the Sundar Sarkar, and I don't much is appreciate the Sundar Sarkar portion. He might be using the Sundar Sarkar portion help him to talk about something like that. Gopal Guru to talk about, but Gopal Guru make a point that one in a cracked mirror. And other book is that experience, caste, and the invitation. So this is the book. He makes a point. The lived experience. So far, our ethics is identified with the text and also something like that. Lived experience essentially related to him. He wants lived experience to justify ethical principles or to do theory. That means they can talk about further. They talk about how egalitarian social sciences and all who is making theory and what it is, and that also further. Then if I talk about victims, but that must take conscious of moral choice with their sense of freedom in our understanding and reflecting the that there if I talk about experience. Not only social, he extended that life to the experiences. From the experience means it is your life context, it is there, you are located, you are making sense of the world, you try to understand, sense of knowledge it is there. And then not only knowledge, you are also contesting the other positions also that we're talking about the victim. His kind of social experience is different from others. He try to you want to find a different kind of feeling. That's why lived experience of Dalit constitutes only valid and authentic experience. One level people try to cover authenticity and representation. These are issues we need to believe in. Feminism, then more our theorizing experience should be. Then if I talk about it, therefore, not only confined to just experience, we should be reflect. The moral reflection is also important. It is not just to I may have experience, not like that they talk about. Then we try to take further the Janvi's kind of question and all where we can look at the experience of the victimhood provides a negative vocabulary that tends to define the philosophical background condition for emancipatory background for condition for emancipatory movement and of those who have been recipient of this experience. Then if I talk about the classical text in Indian texts ends up erasing any form of historical referentiality or historical consciousness. That's what is the main point about. That we're talking about so far we talk about the classical ethics. We didn't see other enormous others will be there. We can't. Krishna told something, or some text will be there. Mostly mythology will be there. Then we are engaging only mythology in a real context. We try to talk about. We try to work out in Mathila some way debate dilemmas in the moral of Mahabharata. We try to talk about. Some other try to talk about this. This kind of debates we try to talk about. But there's no historical referentiality. It is not there. We can't make the responsibility where it is there, how it is there, and all, what it is. There's no nothing like that. Agency is also not there and all. Who is responsible for that one and all? In that way, in every social, our claim is that different social exert authority through this enormous and non-agential views. At the same time, they're having the authority on us. It is not only nobody is there and all. Then he tried to talk about further. He tried to take the issue and all. Everyday social makes important and all to make the theory and all. Unless you understand the nature of authority that operates in diverse ways of everyday social, it would not be possible to really make meaningful social changes. Politics is concerned with the agential authority, and thus looking at the social through this form of authority is to convert the social into the political. We can understand Ambedkar claims about Manusmriti is an attempt to relocate authority into specific agent, since that allows politics to be possible. That is where the Gopal Guru tried to locate the how politics, as I told, why no political philosophy in India, it is there, and somebody tried, the Pratima Bhavi tried to talk about, and it is the way the politics is not possible, it is not there enough. That is the way they talk about. And of course, he tried to talk about the social governance, to be talking about ethicality and rationality, tried to talk about. Let me in this come the main point, what I try to talk about, the way Ambedkar tried to talk about there's a need of ideals is required, and moral thinking is argued that one. He tried to talk about an effective ideal cannot be empty of normative content. That the moral idealism away from Manu's Superman to ordinary man. Then where he tried to talk about the Ambedkar tried to talk about the principle versus rules. He tried to talk about, and the way the most of the ethics seems to be the some rules you have to follow. Where the Iroparishadic or it is the Mimamsakas, you have to follow that rule. But where it is not based on the principle. That's what in any English of the text I talk about. Further, he make a point and all. The philosophy is the Hindu philosophy is centered around the idea of the class in the super class. Superman it is there, but where common men are negated. That is one level he tried to talk about. The other level, the Ambedkar concept of then he tried to talk about the legal philosophy become a moral philosophy in India, and that become a rest of that is also he tried to talk about the critical about that one. When then he make a point and all that Ambedkar finds commonality between the Manu and Nietzsche ideal of Superman. Nietzsche's Superman, Ambedkar argues, cannot be ideal without servility and debasement of common man. Similarly, Superman in Dharmasastras cannot exist as an ideal without the presence of untouchable. Ideal Brahmins are those who are eliminated and treated as eternal incarnation of the sacred love. And that way they talk about the moral. I guess this kind of situation is arguing for the importance of the moral law, which can produce the sense of solidarity, which can be located in a social life, which can locate the real society where common people can be participate and sharing and the sharing and participation, that kind of associate life where kind of endosmosis, communicative process is there now, and they ignore that kind of society they talk about.
4:10 and
10-15 minutes I will sum up what I can talk about. That day I promised to speak on the self-respect. I didn't come to that point. And what I believe, the caste system became a servility, servitude, slavery. Even the titles of the books also you can see that one. Pule, Gulamgiri, the translation slavery. Ambedkar also. He tried to talk about untouchability is a worst form of slavery compared to the other kind of slavery he tried to talk about. The way you treat, where other slavery is, at least there is a possibility to come out of, but here it is not possible, he tried to talk about it. Similarly, all these people, they try to talk about even the Periyar talking about the enslavement of women, and also how really all these people engage in the same level. They identified as slavery in terms of not only mental idea, slavery in terms of the caste system, slavery in terms of the Brahminical system, Brahminical ideology. And of course, they try to theorize, they try to understand at the same time how to overcome the not only problematize the slavery from the victim's point of view, and also theorize. They say that we didn't have the what is the idea of the Brahmanism very recently, very often are talking using the word Brahmanism and all. But they identified the what is the Brahmanism as a concept they introduced, and then they started against that one. And also the liberation, emancipation, and also why education is important, opportunities are important, why reservations are important, where negated, either Pule or this one. And at the same time, to make the moral pride of that one, to make rootedness and culture and all, they make a point and all, we are the natives, and others are outsiders, and all these other secondary points and all. The main point is that they try to assert themselves, and also our culture is very much rooted, but at the same time, how it is exploited, how the one kind of hegemony, the people are ruled through the hegemony by creating hegemony. How hegemony is created by creating some kind of myths, mythology, and the mythology also the one kind of continuity they create as it is create the way the Yuga and all. Whenever the Dharma is in trouble, I used to come and all like Avatara things. The whole Gulamgiri is talking about avatars. The very avatars are nothing but justifying the hegemony of the Brahminic, the invasion of the Brahminical invasion, the Aryan, not Brahminic, Aryan invasions against the local native people in a different form by making these people as asuras. Then he tried, even though they also tried to talk about ultimately arguing for the Balidas, one way Brahmanism problem, he tried to talk about other level, there's a need to be talk about the Sudras and Sudras, where they're negated and all. He tried to talk about the respect of the people. And also to overcome, to retain the respect, he understood the education is important. This is the time where they never experienced the what is education, how to understand the world differently and all. Such a level, the way the champion of the human rights, civil rights, or the where rights are not there for human beings, never experienced such level they introduce. It can be continued to the Ambedkar in a different fashion, and also he just putting more theory. He tried to provide it. He give the not only slavery, he tried to relate the multi-dimensional concept of the dignity, and also about the caste system, the way it deconstructed, dissected, and then he tried to talk about in terms of democracy, in terms of freedom, the way he tried to critical about the Hindu social order, the based on three principles, equality, liberty, and fraternity is not there. This is a base for the flourishment of the self-respect, and it requires the power also, which I talk about, and such a level, he dragged the issue. Then the Periyar had taken that issue further. He gave the new meaning. Periyar tried to talk about the self-respect in the sense, the way it is, his philosophy is himself identified with the Swayam Maryada movement, self-respect movement you try to talk about. Why self-respect is undermined? It is because of the caste system. Caste system, it is because of the Hindu religion. Religion means some kind of practices, some kind of hegemony, some kind of impression. He tried to talk about the way he very colloquial Tamil, he tried to introduce the concept of self-respect. People can be understood what does it mean. If you don't have self-respect, almost is equal to death. He tried to talk about the time and again tried to talk about death. The self-respect is a visceral concept. It is a normative concept. It is a practical concept. Not only practical concept, it is I talk about. It is much more rationalistic concept. That's reason based on the reason. The way other one is ascribed and all. It's not only ascribed. It is also moving towards sense of equality and sense of samatva. Socially, like that, it is not only for other people. It is have to be cultivated. It is not given. Not so easy to people to assess self-respect. The outset, this has to be cultivated. Such a level, the way if you can look at the Periyar and modernity book where it is Aloysius, the people might be much familiar with the Periyar writings. That small books, Aloysius is given theoretically, very powerful theory about the Periyar self-respect is given there. You can see the Sudrahood to the self-respect in the kind of the theoretically they explored the kind of the Periyar. You can see the critical caste feeling here in our Jawahar or there are the bookshops. You can easily find out that one. That is where we try to talk about. Let me talk about briefly, 5 minutes I will take up where the why self-respect is important. I talk about in here, the self-respect is a fundamental value in flourishing of human individual and social collective. It remains the relatedness and responsibility to each other. The concept of worth and dignity are closely connected to self-respect. Self-respect is a declaration of recognition of one's worth in public. It is an act of assertion of the social victim against the humiliation, degradation, discrimination, demeaning, and exploitation. This assertion is a demand of realization of rights and justice, and respect is a matter of pride in having concern for proper presence of the personal dignity and worth. Theorizing self-respect is one kind of engagement with scrutiny of oppressive social and political institutions and practices. In simple terms, self-respect is a realization of humanness. It is a corrective act of historical wrongness for a decent society. Respecting fellow human beings and ensuring human dignity is a necessary ideal. Then in the process, a lot of the Western people also they try to talk about the self-respect, but then with the black movements one can see. But interestingly, the time when they try to talk about 60s and 70s, they academically pick up, and mostly analytical philosophy it is there, and they made it further dry. The kind of the serious politics where they try to talk about, even though they internalize, if you can look at the writings of this one, it looks very dry and all. But only later, feminist movements are there, and the issues are much more. It is when they're talking about self-respect and also critical race theory. It is this thing has totally changed the discourse, and it is the totally in a much more different dimension for this one. It is they given. Then a person may lack self-respect not merely by understanding his merits and achievement, but also by misunderstanding, undeserving, undervaluing his equal rights as a human being. It is, as I told, self-respect is against humiliation. I told humiliation is a sort of behavior or condition that constitute a sound reason for a person to consider his or her self-respect injured. Humiliation undermines the status of human beings as a person with dignity. Humiliation is an act of dehumanization, and is a then it is also humiliation and also something like related to insult also. As I told, markedly differentiate humiliation and insult. To insult someone means to diminish his social position. To humiliate someone means to diminish her self-respect. That way, the first might be an attack on his honor, but only the latter is an attack on our human dignity. So it is not only important that humiliation is about a shared part of identity, but it is to be shared part of the constituent of self-respect and all. This way, then ultimately, then they try to talk about the recognition, where Charles Taylor also they try to talk about the recognition and all. That way, and also later the critical theory people, also Frankfurt schools, Alex Honneth, they also try to extend the debate, and also Nancy Fraser, they very much they try to talk about. The way it is social exclusion by participants of by practice of misrecognition is one way to harm human dignity. Recognition is not just a matter of intellectual understanding, but is a moral and political obligation, like that we talk about. Then it is also is one kind of the dehumanization, and it is also not to be recognized fellow human beings. Much more important, the misrecognition and also under not recognizing and all it is there. In a similar situation where the way we can see that one, where we can see the talking about where Ambedkar I talk about untouchable condition. The untouchable is a bad name. It repels, forbids, stings. The social attitude of Hindu towards untouchable is determined by the very name untouchable. And people have no mind into the individual merits of each untouchable, no matter the meritorious he is and all. The social practice of untouchability as beauty as worst form of humiliation and degradation of human beings, ignorance the human dignity and self-respect. Untouchables were treated by the dominant communities that way unapproachable, unseeable. The untouchability is a forced segregation and feature of unfree social order. There they talk about untouchability. Ambedkar says that untouchability is the worst form of slavery. Untouchable is not recognized as a human being. Hindus are declared that untouchable is not a person. Hinduism refused to regard him as a human being fit for comradeship. Hinduism made the untouchable subhuman. It has made Hindu the inhuman. There is no scope either for the established order of the subhuman and inhuman. The untouchable is a social collective treated not only just untouchable as individual, it is a social collective treated as inferior. The basic human rights were denied to an average Hindu. Untouchable is not fit even for human association. It is a carrier of evil. He is not human being. He must be shunned. The Hindu world Hindu would prefer to be inhuman rather than touch the untouchable. You can see the intensity where it is, not only intensity, one can see the theoretization, the expression. The way Charles Stray talk about philosophy is nothing but a articulation of the inarticulation. I also imagine the concept, the way Ambedkar enriched the not only concepts and all, and also he gave the life to the concept and to theorize. He captured the life process in even the kind of suffering and problem, and also how to overcome that one. Also, we can see it's not only native language by hinting that one, he tried to hint that one. You have to overcome that, but that kind of things. The way he tried to talk about, I will finally end to the issue that there is one kind of the segregation, slavery is one kind of isolation or inferiority. Yes, they acknowledge that one. The Ambedkar argue for the one kind of the moral community, one kind of the associate life where people can freely interact, where can share and participate. And isolation means segregation, humiliation, discrimination, injustice. Isolation means also denial of protection, denial of justice, and denial of opportunity. At the same time, isolation means want of sympathy, want of fellowship, antipathy from Hindus and all. This way, Ambedkar tried to talk about. Then he recourse all his ethics to certain. Again, he going back to the making that one. I am not talking something new. It is already there as a part of Indian ethical tradition, intellectual tradition. He tried to correct the Buddhism. There he ultimately tried to talk about, the Sila and Prajna, Karuna, Sila and Maitri tried to talk about and all. Then the other way, where the people try to talk about Dhamma as a art, the where one kind of rule or authority or yajna, something. Now his point is that Dhamma to be Saddhamma. The way he again, you can look at the Buddha and his Dhamma, and the way he totally reconstruct the Buddhism, even though it's godless, soulless Buddhism he tried to talk about, you keep away from that one. Karma theory is eliminated, Punarjanma theory is eliminated, and he makes the ethics of the social ethics is much more for the egalitarian society, and they're talking about this world and for the to where people can feel it. It made much more human, egalitarian, and also theoretically sound. When we try to look at the Dhamma to be Saddhamma, one might talk about. One can look at what we mean by the Saddhamma as a concept and how Ambedkar is constructed and all. I believe there is a need of Indian ethics can be rather than Dhamma centric. One can see the Saddhamma centric. He tried to talk about Brahmin centric kind of thing, how to keep away the fallacy kind of the Punarjanma theory, Karma theory, how to keep away, other Vedic other has to keep away, and also it has to relate to the fellow human beings and all it talk about. You can see in Buddha and in Dharma, the way they talk about. There I believe that is the heart and source of the Indian ethics. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kesava. Very forceful and intense deliberations. So I think there would be many questions, many comments. So we can have around half an hour discussion. Please.
Thank you, sir, for your introduction. I started my question from the areas of cost of Ambedkar book. In book, he mentioned that until the Hindu Dharma Grantha has promote or take inside the hierarchy of one Dharma, and due to this hierarchy, day by day, a particular society suffered so many kind of atrocities, and these atrocities happen due to that a particular society, previous society, is not ready to accept the respect human dignity and capability as equal. That's why when the particular society increase or to grow their pets bad perspective, then he suffered. So my question is, does they started to glorify their identity as the hierarchical society to increase to promote or to claim that whatever they have identity, the superior identity.
One thing I understood that it is the demolition of the test. When they're talking about the annihilation of the caste, he understood that it is a mental notion. The idea is caste is a mental notion, not only mental notion, it is mental notion is authorized through the text. That's why text has to be demolished, text has to be burnt like that. That is one idea. That's what he's exactly also talking spoke about that one. It is also the notion, it is how important to the thing, and also that then by people identifying with that notion or the textual notion, because then they try to talk about the what they try to talk about the African social that is a rational. Where Gopal will also write that kind of thing. They believe that is rational. Other fellow what you try to talk about something it is irrational like that. They thought they convinced that one. That's why against that kind of social, there is other kind of alternative social, the social which is located not in textual, historical, not only is contextual, and that is not only contextual, and also it is the human beings as a rational and moral capacity they are using and differentiating right now. That level he tried to talk about rather than mediating to the other level and all. That is one level he tried. That's why I talk about one has to search in human relationship, social relations I talk about. The talking about the democracy I talk about, one has to search in the human relationship, the social relations one has to talk about. Social relation means there he tried to talk about the morality. Ignorance the customary morality, the morality also should be, it is one kind of the way people can be identified in a different level, where they can be treated equal and also considerate and fellowship, fraternity, and that kind of conscious morality, it should be nurtured as a part of the kind of political culture he tried to look for that one. There is a strength one can see in any nation of the caste. It should be there, not from the above and all. It should be not from the law, somebody is trying to enforcing you and all. Not from the some kind of the authoritative text or some religious text it is there and all. It should be come from us. Then we can look at whatever it is there and all. Then that's why the first word is right, but don't accept my thing as a other divine and all. You experience yourself, you can, the Buddhist, Buddha is not authority. He tried to talk. Similarly, one can experience from there, we can evaluate what is right and what is wrong. And even the kind of same apply to the moral laws.
Any questions? Just since there are maybe others are thinking to reframe lessons, meanwhile I just asked, largely I agree with what you have presented. I really appreciate. But one or two things I want to problematize and see how you take me through. I mean, I'm playing a devil's advocate at one level.
Yeah, it is a very loose presentation.
No.
Gaps are there, here and there.
Yeah, you did critique the Hindu mode of using mythology as ground for ethical discourses, and there's serious limitation in such a practice. But I was also wondering that if we take myth in a very true sense of the term, some myths can be very exploitative. Myths we often try to trivialize by saying that they are not historical, they are not scientific. It has nothing to do with science, it has nothing to do with history. But myth is, I'm referring to Ernest Kesserer and others. Myth has certain purpose. Myth are narratives or stories, and there is always a point of view of the storyteller about certain values that appreciate and something that should be nurtured. So there could be very dehumanizing myths, but there could also be very empowering myths. And there are myths who can consolidate social solidarity. Because I worked on indigenous philosophical traditions. So, and I'm using myth as a very is a method of philosophizing, not throwing it away, but using that. What is myth after all trying to say? So, how much will you give cognizance of the role of myth in your scheme of theorizing? This is one. Second is I can understand Ambedkar's very pragmatic way of engaging with religion, because he also knows that religion is, uh, unlike the Marxist, religion is essential to consolidate and also somehow help people to lead a socially integrated life. But at the same time, he decided to choose Buddhism, a godless religion. To that extent, I can understand that ethics, he didn't lose of ethics where agency is taken into account while he embraced Buddhism. I understand that part. But don't you also see that ethics is not only atheistic ethics? Ethics also is embedded in every religious tradition, whether it is Islam, Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and even my own study indigenous faith. So ethics is part of what you call divine narrative. Are you going to throw away those part of ethics which is associated with something called divine, something called superhuman, something beyond, in your quest for agency, humanity? This is something that I don't have an answer. It's a tension that I have. I want to.
Everybody have this kind of dilemma. Very seriously, we also have the, it's not the confusion, not a contradiction. We thought it's sometimes contradiction, sometimes confusion, some kind of dilemma. It's not exactly like that. Since both positions seems to be somewhere we're convinced. Either talking about the idea of religion, either atheistic or some sense of living, or talking about the mythology. Both are related questions. The same kind of tone will be there, the way it is presented. First, let us see the myth. Myth is today we are under the grip of myth. Myth is much more powerful and emotional than the reality, than the history. You know it very well. A symbol how people come to the power also just by usually playing with the Rama. We don't know when it is. That is also that is the power of myth. That doesn't mean that people are fools. Some sense the people identified with the myth, and also the myths also may be manipulated, mastered, and also very systematically exploited also, since they are already nurtured for a long time, very close to our kind of understanding and the life, and selectively they try to present certain kind of things, and that is also going to be there. Here, that's why when talking about the one can understand the myths, we can look at the where it is Jyotiba Phule. His exclusive study on that one, the exclusive identity, that is best example for us how to explain, understand myth and all. And he tried to talk about the one way we know the importance of the myth, and also that's why rather than questioning the myth, people try to talk about let us create some counter myths and all. They don't want to leave the power of the myth, let us do the counter myths like that. But however, the counter myth, of course, the people try to the way it is against the powerful myths. They have already internalized that one. Other myths seems to be not that very powerful. We are for our Dalit literature, we produce Shemboka and Ekalavi and all. These also myths. Rama is a mythological figure. Equally, these also as a victims of Rama and mythological. That we want to accept that one. It is there. But in a larger level, in front of Rama, these symbols are, it is not there. We can't fight to such a level at all. The myths, how it is, you will create that kind of myths and all. Myths also, created by the certain classes, certain interest also there. Very the advantage for the dominant classes it is there. Very particularly, myth has a power to transcend the reality and overcoming the contradictions. And he says that it is a hero, it is a power, it is there as a myth, it is there, and it doesn't require any justification like ordinary kind of things and all. But when try to bring out in history, a lot of justification is required. Of course, when the Fule inverse the myths of that one, he tried to take about the Asuras, the Hiranyakashipa and Bali and other kind of people are there. He tried to put that one. But there's a problem is in the reception and strength of the way you try to work out. Even though they talk about we are Asuras, where is there working on my student is there working on Asuras, the Asura viewpoint is written paper. And then, even though we try to climb it, even they Prasad Chattopadhyay, the Lokai also they talk about Asura, which one chapter is written. Even why it is not a powerful, this myth is also there. This is also, if you believe in that myth, in that myth itself, these also myths are there. Accordingly, in the same text, these people are also there. Why it is not powerful? What happens then? Why it is there and all? I believe that thing as a part of the cultivating the hegemony and culture, the myths will be flourished. That level it is there, unless until some kind of rational argumentation, then only the power of myths will be diminished. And all. But however, I agree with you and all that myths has to definitely play a role, and some that we also need some kind of myths. Suppose there in African writers such as Gugi, he is my favorite writer. He also writes the one story, one novel. His name is the Martigal. Martigali means as a symbol of that one, we know, he has a symbol for that one. He is a river, there is the weapons are there, he can take your when the man is coming there and something is happened, very powerful, it is there and all. It is a kind of the most of the, as you said, that one is African communities also, they believe some kind of myth, some power, like the where Orissa tribe, they talk about the Yamgiri god. The Yamgiri god is like, he will take care of everything and all. That is a myth. The myth in a they come generated in a context of tribal exploitation. It is there in the Orissa, the development exploitation. It is there now. Of course, the Maoists they may try to come forward as struggle. The struggle seems to be like that. But the way tribals also they believe that what in a contest where the some kind of the way in the part of struggles is God is with us and immediately God will take care of us and all. It is not just by creating some kind of concern and also build. For a long time they believed. And also, maybe it has moral element, but they thought that is the more God. Other side is immorality, they're exploiting or dislocating element and all. And also, we don't know how it is operates and all. We can't just negate that kind of myths and all. The myths of the people of the poor and when they're defensive position and also there small things also there, but in a culturally loaded this for a long time they feel much more powerful. They are also identifying with and all. That is the very myth is really mysterious and its power one has to we can't underestimate the very idea of the myth. That's why Louis classes time and again goes on cultivating the myths, inventing the myths and all. And other people also they have to create some kind of counter myths and all. You may ask that one out ultimately history may be the casualty of this kind of situation, but at the same time, we have to no need to go not go carried with just rationality and all, but more than the rationality, some other things also one has to take care of that they were committed. When come to the other question is about religion. Yeah, Ambedkar one way not he is identified with religion. It is not like a combination also totally negating religion and all. He is the importance of religion. He carried the Jadvi also. At the same time, democratizing religion. Here also he tried to talk about the not a mythological, is a naturalistic kind of religion he tried to look at, where human growth of the society might be there, and the way one can differentiate the way Ambedkar also talks about the today Hindu nationalism one way, the way religion, the strength of religion it is there, since in a culture it's not in a globalized world, the culture is undermined, our traditions is under attack, something like that. Then we feel the appealing our culture, our traditions, that way it is happening, that makes more and more strength it is there, that the people can feel it. The politics also without connecting the culture is a problem. But that's why they try to connect the politics to the culture. Culture means emotional, the way this is. That level they identified. But Ambedkar also understood that one, there's a need to be, politics can't be worked out like that. One has to relate to the religion and culture. That is one level, but at the same time, he want to, the difference between Ambedkar and all other level it is there, he want to democratize this one. He want to rationalize that one. He want to be more than rationality. He want to look at very moralistic level. In a part of making it is moral, there he adopted the rationality. Rationality that is subordinated to the morality, but not like other rationality as a priority. Then it is a morality, like not like that. That level, he give the space for that one. The way he identified with the religion, still is engaging, and that's why not only is religion not just confined to the one way. Not only human societies have to be, human beings not only require materialism, both material and spiritual also fulfillment is required. Somewhere he mentioned that one. Spiritualism, in the sense, he tried to talk about harmonious relations, associated life. More than that one, it is a friendship, the community, moral community, and all. There, the sense of religion, where one can look at that. Exactly, the you differentiating by atheism and all. Exactly, the time and again I try to talk about the medieval subaltern saints totally identified with this kind of religion against the dominant bhakti traditions where it is some sense of authority, power, other level it is there. That way they make sense of the new meaning to the religion that's given, and even though not well articulated, it may be looked from the it may be subsumed under the larger Hindu philosophical religious traditions, but it has own meaning, it is there.
Thank you.
That is.
Professor, you mentioned Manu in the equivalent terms to nature, and thus the idea of the Superman. Then the talk of the Urumensch and the Untermensch, yes, there is a divide between the Urumensch and the Untermensch. But in his writing further, when we go that there is a further divide, segregation and discrimination in between the Untermensch itself when we go lower down the scale. So, in light to the aspect of your self-respect, how would you say when you will quote that philosophy itself is an articulation of the inarticulation? So, I just want you to respond to how do you articulate such a thing.
No, where he tried to look at the models, of course, people try to talk about is Nietzsche and Schopenhauer. They are very much inspired by the Indian modern Manu is very much it is there. That is undisputed. And how they use it, that is the next issue. Then there they try to talk about the very particularly concern of the Second World War, and also even the Superman, and also people only survive the way the people, strong people, and also vitality. If you're talking about that one, not only survive, remaining is negating that one. They making an essay this ideal. They picked up this ideal, and also they try to one how to live by that ideal. That is an issue. There they talk about the idea of Superman. He tried to talk about. Why this concept of Superman? His whole idea is that why Superman? We also always try to look at some kind of heroes and Superman, somebody taking care of them. What about ordinary man? The society where we are surrounded totally by the common man. Only. How to under? There may be limitations are there. Maybe not like Superman like you. There may be deficiencies might be, limitations might be there and all. Then what to talk about? Who will in the name of some kind of the similarly the way we are attributed to call all the qualities of the good qualities to the God, and that level we try to differentiating and also keeping goes on want to playing the certain kind of things where picking the God of mercy, everything. But the point is here is that it is the ordinary human beings. That's why when Ambedkar talk about somebody should be educated, somebody should be division of labor rate, somebody try to justify that one. Somebody should be protect the nation, somebody should be educated, somebody should be labor, it is required. That is not the case. Every human beings have to be studied, have educated, the whole human personality, all these rights should be there. but not particularly one particular kind of thing. He want to metaphorically want to bring some the parallels between the Nietzsche Superman and the Brahminical class, the way the whole society. He tried to talk about Hindu social society, neither centered around the human beings, nor centered around the social, nor centered around the family. It is centered around the Superman. Superman means it is the particular classes, Brahmin class. That is the idea. They try to using that concept. And maybe some other aspect, maybe Nietzsche may be differentiated, but maybe the way he tried to totally differentiate the world and the Western philosophy, the whole Western philosophy compared to take the revisit to after his criticism, that might be there. But in this context, where even it may be critical about the idea of morality, all other things might be there. And this is a particular social, even particular context. And some other people also, how can we critical about the Nietzsche? Nietzsche also different kind of figure, and also this question it is there. But when try to look at the Nietzsche in relation to the way he inspired, the way the people try to talk about, he got the Zarathustra, that way somewhere responded to the Manu, and after going through the Indian kind of literature, to soft literature, he gave the new direction to the class. That's what people argue. I don't know exactly. I don't read much about the Nietzsche's deep readings, what it is, where you are trying to discuss that. But this is the only concern I'm trying to look at, very one particular point.
So, if we now wind up the discussion, we can have a cup of tea. So, where is Mani Mati? So, आप ही announce कर दो. Thank you so much. So, you have come.
You were saying that you mentioned Pratibha Bhave, that she was in her writing saying there was no development of moral philosophy for a long time in Indian tradition, and like there was development that was in form of religion or dharma. In that sense. Why we are saying that there is no development of moral philosophy in the sense in Buddhism we are seeing that there are some kind of moral ideas that you should follow these eightfold paths and so was there no moral philosophy at all? And the next thing is that when we talk about self-respect in this movement, Dalit movement and Ambedkarite movement, they are asserting more on self-respect and dignity. So I was wondering about why we are not calling it respect movement. Why the self aspect is coming into that? Is there something specific about it? Because it can be called a dignity movement, respect movement.
First question is that it is why no, that is one is that different level moral theories are there, that is not there. But over the period of time, going further, when society is changing, we have to adapt with the changing society, we have to new theories has to develop and all. The whole theory has to be engaged with the contemporary times very well. Here, our point is that the moral theory means it is some vision of the good society, just society. Political class means it is not a descriptive society, whatever it is there and all, whatever the society is not there. It is which is not there. They want to provide some sense of the good. So one has to look at the moral stance, society evaluating our social institutions, practices, evaluating from some kind of moral stance. That level one has to see that kind of vision they try to do. That is a promise. Doesn't mean that is fulfilled. That is there in our society and all. That level, if that is the case. You want to have the good society, just society. You have the vision. It is there. How far the moral philosophy developed in India that carries with that kind of vision and all. That is one level you can talk about. You may try to talk about say other issues might be there, Buddhism, Jainism, but largely we are trying to talk about Indian philosophy and why this particular class they are not taking to the consideration of the developing. A lot of things should be there. No? the development of the so many theories, rest lot of things you have seen, so many schools also there and all, philosophical schools, theories and all. Why still we are hanging over same thing? It is some way it is happened and all. We know our ethical theories never goes beyond our the Purushotha theories and never go with the Nishkama theory and all. The way human beings are not responsible. Somebody say that I am ultimately I know what to do and all. If you keep quiet and all, do your dharma, whatever it is there like that. Which I talk that is one level where we try to look at the degeneration of the moral philosophy, the existing theory at the same time, why it is not contemporary is not there. There Krishna said one thing and all. Generally people try to critical about tradition. He is not against tradition. In Ambedkar also similar. But tradition, we try to talk about living tradition is arguing. The tradition which is living, that kind of the tradition which stand for the reason, tradition which stand for the morality. Such level the moral theory, it may be extended to the moral philosophers, moral theory also. That is one level it is there. That is one issue. And why still inequality is there? Somebody, are you justifying caste system? Are you justifying the patriarchy? Why they are not questioning that one? These are the things, the responsibility of the how why these are produced and how social stratification is taken in the name of in the caste and gender different levels happened and all. Why we are not in a position to question that one? Time and again we try to justify the status quo. It is there. That is the way she tried to question us. Why stagnation it is there or not? Not in a position to question that something is wrong with that. What is the social system where we are living? Do we see any kind of writing philosophers? You will know also the where the very fringes only it will be there. People who are talking about some fringes will be there. Fringe level it is there now. But mainstream level, we can't see the somebody questioning this kind of the authority and also talking about the self-respect or philosophical ideas to be in scrutiny or philosophical text under scrutiny. It is not there. That is the point. When Swayam Maryada are talking about self-respect, it is a basic level. Most of the philosophy is developed by the modernity and also sense of humanism. That level as human beings. No? Manisangada, that is a poem, song is there. I am the human beings. I am human. That phenotype. There as a part of that one, it is an individual level that the way they try to talk about justify. At the same time, not only individual against the social collective which is responsible for the degradation and oppression. That level it I talk about the where is critical about religion and atheistic level is evaluating the religion where his approach is a little bit different. Actually, these people engage in different level. He totally ritual, all other things also, the critical atheistic kind of approach it is there. But where he keeping the man as a central point and all, and there they do celebration of the human beings and human reason and sense of morality, there he try talk about the way somebody has to be making sense of the I am showing that one, still justifying that one, I am still lived. That means respect it, self-respect is the testimony for the making sense of declaration of the life. There he try to locate that one. And that way, I am no way inferior than you. His argument is that nobody should be neither inferior nor superior. Human beings should not be either feel superior or inferior. That is the idea. There he try to look at.
Okay, thank you. So let us give a big hand.
On behalf of the Center for Philosophy, I all want to thank Professor Kesava Kumar and Professor Bhagat for this insightful session, and also thank you to all. And tea and samosa is waiting also.
You want to talk with them or they can bring for you there?